Beyoncé almost lost the bond with her sister Solange. It was so bad that Bey couldn't stand her younger sibling, and their father, Mathew, was to blame for their rivalry. So, how did their dad ruin the relationship between the Knowles sisters? And what did they do to restore their sibling love?
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Solange!
Beyoncé and Solange may seem like music royalty, but they each had a tough time growing up. Bey has been into music and dancing since she started school, and their dad took her discovered talents seriously. However, he completely lost sight of his younger daughter Solange. The little one felt worthless. And early on, Solange realized something that affected her future too. Adult Solange sings, "I'll never be the picture-perfect Beyoncé. I'm not her and never will be." The sisters' resentment was constantly fueled by Mathew's blatant favoritism. At 10, Bey joined the girl band that later became Destiny's Child. Her father saw that she was destined for greatness, so he risked everything to make the girl shine. Not only did Mathew quit his day job in sales to become Bey's full-time manager, the family also had to sell their house and cars. So Beyoncé felt the pressure of being the breadwinner. She just couldn't let down her family by failing. Only Mathew took it too far, because he forgot about being a father first. Mathew was a strict and unforgiving manager who stole Bey's childhood. LaTavia Roberson, an original Destiny's Child girl, said he was like a drill sergeant. Mathew's boot camps included vigorous training and vocal exercises. He also made the band wake up early and run 3.5 miles while singing. But Solange didn't even get that tough love from her dad. And worst of all, she didn't feel loved by her 5-year-older sister. Beyoncé's bandmate, Kelly Rowland, was at the family home all the time. Being the same age, Kelly became Bey's best friend and was treated like one of the sisters. Before too long, Solange was a third wheel. Mathew later admitted that Solange wasn't getting attention because Destiny's Child was kind of consuming the family. The two girls started working on each other's nerves. Their mother, Tina, became increasingly worried.
She was 5, she was all in her stuff, she was trying to hang around her and her friends, and Beyoncé was really irritated.
Tina also hated that she didn't have much of a say in how Mathew treated the girls. The more popular Bey became, the more Solange felt like an outsider. The girl almost buried her ambitions, despite being undeniably talented, because her own father ignored her. And Mathew might have passed this narrative to Beyoncé. The star grew up thinking she was the only gifted one in the family, so Solange would hide out in her room and pour all her hurt into writing songs. Then, when she was 13, Solange begged her parents to start recording her lyrics. But their dad said she was too young, no matter that Bey had been performing since age 10, or that he didn't object when Solange wrote many of Destiny's Child songs. Later, Mathew allowed the youngest sister to be a backup dancer for the band. She once even filled in singing when Kelly Rowland got injured. But this was far removed from Solange's dreams of her own solo career, because the family's resources were all focused around Beyoncé. Instead of feeling resentment or envy, Solange idolized her big sister. She tried to copycat Bey. Maybe that way she could be more loved. The sisters could have had a rift for life if it weren't for Tina's intervention. When things got really out of hand, their mom took action.
And so I took them to counseling very early so that the counselor could help Beyoncé be more sensitive to Solange, because she couldn't stand her for a minute, when they were little.
The therapy opened Bey's eyes to what her sister had to endure. Little by little, she and Solange started to restore the bond they missed out on in childhood. But life was about to deal the youngest Knowles sibling another blow. Solange was 17 and just about to leave home and fulfill her creative ambitions. And then she fell pregnant with her high school sweetheart Daniel. The couple tied the knot soon after, but to Mathew that meant nothing. Once again, he put Bey's success over being a supportive dad, since in Mathew's eyes the pregnancy was an unspeakable scandal. But not because he was worried about Solange being a teenage mom. Instead, it was all about protecting Beyoncé's reputation. So Mathew did everything to cover up the shame. He sent the pregnant Solange and her husband away to a remote town. Anything so the tabloids wouldn't get a hold of them. Solange didn't even have her family by her side to support her during the pregnancy. She was left all alone while her husband had to finish his studies. All she wanted was to have her big sister there with her, but Beyoncé was still under Mathew's thumb, so they had to make do with phone calls. Solange was also devastated because she had to put her career on hold once again, first for her dad and sister, and now for her son. It was isolating and lonely, and so cold and dark. It was hard to imagine being able to progress my career in any way. And while she desperately wanted Beyoncé by her side for the birth, it almost didn't happen. Bey was freaked out by the labor process, but she managed to be there for her sister. A few years later, Solange divorced, and she threw everything into her career. She was making a name for herself, and didn't want to be affected by her sister's popularity. That's why Solange dropped her surname, and she developed her own tactics with intrusive interviews. I get asked about Beyoncé all the time, but I try and make fun of it. Sometimes I say she's not my sister, other times I say I've stuffed her in my suitcase and sent it to Dubai. All the while, Beyoncé was very supportive of Solange's career. In fact, she'd always known her little sister was going to be something special.
She had that star quality and that big presence, even at 5.
And that's okay with you?
Oh, it was always okay with me. That's my baby.
However, they later experienced family turmoil that put their bond at risk once again. The first blow came from their father. While Solange had always been hurt by his neglect, Bey appreciated everything he'd done for her. That changed when the superstar turned 30. Allegedly, she got tired of working with her dad. It made the headlines when she fired him as her manager.
We both knew it was time, maybe, a few years before.
Rumor had it that Mathew embezzled money from one of Beyoncé's world tours. He denied the claims though, and any wrongdoing has never been confirmed. It's much, much more likely that Queen Bee parted ways with him for his other sins. These ones Mathew couldn't deny. He had cheated on their mother multiple times. In fact, while still married to Tina, he fathered 2 children with different women. Neither Bey nor Solange could forgive him this. They didn't even attend his wedding to another lady. Mathew's cheating on their beloved mom wasn't the only betrayal in the family. A few years later, Beyoncé was making headlines for her husband's alleged affair. And it was Solange who seemingly confirmed it all. She infamously attacked her brother-in-law in an elevator. Fans assumed she stepped up for her big sister, as she couldn't stand Beyoncé being hurt so deeply. The family later explained that they've worked through it. And while some people criticized Beyoncé for staying with a cheater, others believe she did it for her daughter. Motherhood completely changed Bey and her priorities. She could finally understand the pressure Solange had experienced with her son. That's when she saw just how many mistakes Mathew had made as a parent. In hindsight, both siblings now realize that their dad was the root of their rivalry. He does love his girls, but his motives back then were very selfish. Despite it all, Beyoncé and Solange found a way to make up for their years of their rift. They kept a low profile for a while to support Solange's rise to fame. What's more, they rarely ever argue, and they often babysit each other's children. Now that they both have families themselves, they know what not to do. Learn from your parents' mistakes.